I realize some of you are going to say, but Mike, didn't you already do a series that I want to read in 2022? Well, yes, I did, but that was like way back at the beginning of the year. Now that we're a little closer to 2022, things have come closer into shape, so let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, bookworms and those who like to plan ahead? Mike back with another TBR, but it's a little different than usual. Now, I did talk earlier in the year about series that I wanted to start in 2022. That's obviously a long-range forecast and can't be nailed down because we didn't know how everything was going to go. Wrapped into this Malazan read-along and things like that. Now that things are a little closer to 2022, starting here in January, I think that there's some things that have come into shape. Now, what's making this list a little different is I'm going to name some of these series that I would like to get into next year if I have the time. Because I know you're going to say, hey, what about this one? It really just depends on how time goes, guys. I don't know how much Malazan is going to be a drain. The Stephen King and Michael Crichton stuff, I can move that however I want. I just want to make sure as we go through the end of Malazan here, I'm not, double booking myself with anything like I did this month where I've got two series I'm reading at the same time. So I'm going to talk about a couple of series first, or a handful of series first that I'd like to get into next year if I have the time. And then I'm going to talk about 6 that are on the schedule in what I call permanent ink, meaning they will not be taken off for anything. There will be no extra read-alongs or anything like that. Like the only thing I think could actually bump these is if there's like some huge new release, like, hey, Winds of Winter comes out next year. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. So I want to make sure that you know that these ones I'm talking first, yeah, sure, they're if I have time. They take priority over anything new popping on here. But then you got these ones here on the bottom. Like I said, these 6, these are permanent. I am not going to be taking these off. In fact, most of them, except for one, are already written into my schedule, and they will not be changing. So let's talk about those series I want to get to first. Now, guys, these are going to be in preference order, meaning I find myself with new time. These are the ones that are going on to the list, no doubt whatsoever. First, I got to say, I love Rhaenyra, so I want to get into Legends of the First Empire. Now, some people are saying, what about the Rhaenyra Chronicles? Hey, look, Michael J. Sullivan was nice enough to send me these awesome autographed hardcovers of Legends of the First Empire. I want to read them. Okay? So I can always go back to Royce and Hadrian whenever. Well, that's a great thing about the Rhaenyra timeline. You can jump all over the place and be okay with it. But this, yeah, I think with this, actually, what I'll do with these 6 books in this series is I think I will, anytime I'm like I just did at the end of last month where I fit in Empire of the Vampire, I find myself at the end of the month and I've got like an extra week until the next month rolls around, yeah, cool. I'll throw a Legends of the First Empire book in there instead of trying to read all 6 back to back, instead of doing it that way. So I think that will be my one. But that is my very much the one that if I have some extra time, that's the one that I'm going to do. Now, before I go a little further, guys, I just want to say I know that there will be people who will be disappointed to see no Alistair Reynolds on here, no Book of the New Sun on here, no Prince of Nothing on here. And let me explain why, guys. We're finishing Malazan in June, and that takes a very heavy toll on the brain, right? So I want to make sure that I kind of recharge my batteries like I did when I finished Wheel of Time. I finished that in May, and I was like, I'm not starting Malazan until next year. I just want to make sure that I clean the palette, get all these other little things out of the way that I want to do, because I want to make sure that I dedicate enough time to something that deserves a lot of special attention. And those are 3 series I feel like are very, very heavy. Any Alistair Reynolds I've heard is very heavy. But I haven't forgotten about them, and you never know, they could slip in here somehow. But Book of the New Sun and Prince of Nothing for sure, that's not happening until 2023. So sorry if those are the ones you're looking for, but I want to get that out there. Next up, this one is going to be something, it just depends. We got, I said after Malazan I wasn't going to let myself get roped into any more read-alongs. Well, I got roped into several here. Now, there are a couple of them that are pending. It really just depends. The people that I've talked to about them, it's going to depend on if they are free as well. And this is for Bradley P. Boyer's Song of the Shattered Sand series. It's a series that just finished this year. I got the whole series in these awesome UK editions. They're really kick-ass, signed by the man himself. So I'm very excited to get into those. But again, it just depends on how things go. This is one that Jane, one of my moderators, and Steph, one of my patrons, have said they would love to join me in reading along with this. But I have a read-along with them already this year that we're going to talk about a little later that is in the permanent ink section, and it'll just kind of depend on how we go with that. But Song of the Shattered Sands, I don't really know a lot about it. The phrase that I get told a lot is, it is the hidden gem of modern fantasy. And that's usually enough to get my attention. I don't have a physical copy of it. I bought them all on digital. I know people are going to be like, yo, Mike, where are the ladies on this list? Well, here come the ladies, because the first lady of epic fantasy, this is going to be my return to the realm of the Eldlings. This is Robin Hobb and the Live Ship Traders trilogy. And I know that some people will be disappointed not to see this one in permanent ink. It's just a numbers game at this time, guys. Yeah, it's no secret that I did not like the last book of Farseer, but I'm not judging the series off of that. I mean, just about unanimously, the fandom told me, don't judge a series off of Farseer, and I'm not trying to. And I love books 1 and 2. It's just that third one was like, oh god. And look, I'm not very big into the seafaring books, and a book that is a trilogy that takes place on boats that has me a little weary. But I am actually very interested to go back to it, because I did like the world that she was creating. I love the characters she created. I know this is a different section of the map and a different set of characters. I'm awesome. I think it's awesome that she's expanding her world like that. So I'm willing to get into it. But I've heard things from some people who say, yeah, Life Ship Traders for me. And other people say it's the best trilogy in her entire series here. So I'm definitely continuing that. And I hope that I do find the time to get this one in, because I would like to finish the whole realm of the Eldlings, before like 2028. That would be really awesome if I could do that. Next up, this one, more of the ladies. This is the Green Bones Saga by Fonda Lee. I think I would be the last booktuber alive to review this, because it seems like everyone did it there for a minute. This was Empire of the Vampire before Empire of the Vampire, I think, where everybody was reviewing it. There's a lot of people doing I won't say a lot, but there are several people doing a read-along in the Discord right now, and hearing their feedback on it, they just say it's awesome. So I can't really attest to that being, the gospel or whatever, but I haven't heard too many people say bad things about the series. So I completed just recently, I think the third book just came out. I'm going to wait for the paperback of that so it'll match my other two that I have. But yeah, now that's complete, I feel like I can dive into that one. Really, sadly, don't know very much about it. Really, just that everybody seems to love it. Sci-fi one that got bumped this year that I definitely want to get on next year, and I'd like to get it done before the Netflix adaptation comes out. That is, of course, the Remembrance of Earth's Past by Cixin Liu. I'm probably saying that name wrong. It is not disrespect. I just have no idea how to say it. I've watched other booktubers say it, and they all say it a different way. So this is the way that's kind of stuck with me. But Remembrance of Earth's Past is something that I had to, when we sped up the Malazan schedule, it was something that I had to bump off the list, which I was going to be reading actually in December. So it's going to happen next year, I think, sometime. Even if I don't start the series next year, I'm going to try at least get the first book in before the Netflix adaptation happens, if it comes out next year. If not, I feel fine bumping it to the year after that. There's one more that's just kind of an asterisk, guys, about why I'm kind of cutting this one off. Is I've talked about this since I started the channel, is I've been very interested in Melissa McPhail's Pattern of Shadow and Light series. I've heard this is basically like the modern age successor to Wheel of Time. And I know that's big shoes to fill for some people, but for people that I trust, people that are big wheelies, have said that have read it, like, yes, it absolutely is probably the best I've read since. She's writing books 6 and 7 concurrently, have the first 5 books. And she says that she does a really cool blog post update. She's really, really engaging with her fans. I drop on Instagram and ask her a question. She'll answer it within a couple of minutes. She's really awesome. But she said that she has book 6 done, but she still needs to write book 7. So I think it's one of those things where at this point, I know that people don't like it when I say I want to wait for a series to be complete before I read it, because that hurts, especially small authors like her. Look, I'm buying all of her books. I think that helps her just fine. I've just not read them yet. So I think with this is, when I have a release date for book 7, then I'll start. I think I'll do it like that. So I think it's because I have so many completed series that I'd like to read. So I kind of want to prioritize doing those ones that are completed. But let's get on to the big ones, guys. These, of course, all the ones, like I say, in permanent ink that will not be moving no matter what. Don't you love 10 minutes into the video, I finally get to what I advertised in the title? That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, guys. Hope you use those timestamps if you didn't want to know what I was thinking about reading. Anyway, so 6 that are on the schedule. This one's already scheduled, guys. January, February, March, April of 2022. We're going to be finally dipping into Memory, Sorrow, and Thorns. It's going to be my first dip into Tad Williams. Now, I'm not going to go too much into why I'm reading this, because I am going to be doing a why I decided to read on this and tell the story about me and my brother, and why he's been bagging on me for 20 years to read this, and why I am nervous, excited to do it. Nervous because what if I don't like it? And then excited because what if I do like it and he was right, and then he just gets to brag the whole time. So either way, I lose in that situation, but that's okay. That's what brothers do, right? But this is one we are going to be doing a read along, not like Malazan. We're not going to be doing like the chapter breakdowns and all that stuff and the spoiler talks, but we are going to be saying, hey, January, we're reading this. If you want to talk about it, jump on the Discord. We can talk about it there. So this is a very, very wordy series. It is the only 4-book trilogy I can think of. The third book, guys, it's like they do release it now as, one large book to Green Angel Tower. But it's so massive that they couldn't put it in paperback when it first came out. They had to break it into part 1 and part 2. So even though they put it in one binding now, I'm still breaking it into part 1 and part 2 because I am reading that before Malazan ends, and it is very, very wordy, like I say. So the third book is twice the length of book number 2. So it tells you that is basically 2 books. So we're going to be breaking it into 2 there. But hey, you can do it any way that you want. If you want to read it, hey, that's great. I'd love to have you. Now, something I know that's going to happen this year is I'm going to realize I don't get a new Joe Abercrombie book this year. I know that he said, I believe that he's going to be putting out like another short story book like he did after he finished, the last trilogy, or a standalone trilogy, not the original trilogy. So he's finished with Age of Madness, so I think he's going to put out some kind of short story or something. So I said, I'm going to need a new Joe Abercrombie book this year to hold me over. So that's what I'm finally going to be doing. Shattered Sea. I'm embarrassed I haven't done it yet. I think because it was just so poorly represented to me. When I was told about it, I was told, oh, well, yeah, it's Joe Abercrombie. It's very YA. It's very YA. So when I had Joe Abercrombie on the channel, I asked him, why do you feel like that's a fair thing? And he basically said in so many words, guys, if you write a fantasy book and it has a teenage female lead protagonist, your book is listed as YA, no matter how brutal or dark the content is. And I was like, that sounds about right. Because I think Poppy War, I have my problems with Poppy War, but it was not YA from the content involved. But since you had a female protagonist that was a teenager, that's what it got. Let's same with Lycanius, So I get that what he was coming from there. So I think that was the reason I didn't get into it when I did, because I was like, dude, this is like listening to Eddie Murphy do clean comedy. Why would I want to listen to that? So it was one of those things where I was like, okay, he's so good at what he does. Why would he dumb it down? I think so. That was a mistake on my part. I believe. I don't know, but I'm going to be reading this. So if anybody wants to join me, I'd love to have you. I think there's plenty of Abercrombie fans on the channel here. So I think that not very many people seem to have read it. So I'll be interested to having a new little mini warband to do that. Another one that doesn't have a new book coming out, as far as I know, there's going to be no new Dresden Files book for a while. Now, with this series is one of my patrons, Steph, bought me the entire series of Codex Alera. And she said after that, hey, I'm going to be reading that next year. Will you read along with me? And I said, absolutely. Yes, it's the least I can do to say thank you. So this is that big read along with her and others on my Discord, including some of my mods and my patrons are going to be joining on this. We're going to be doing the whole Codex Alera series next year. This is going to be one of those, no matter how we feel about it, we're going to keep going, because I think a lot of people have said book 1 is a struggle. And I hear that a lot. People said that about Dresden Files. Book 1 and 2 are a struggle. It's fine with them, but you watch my Dresden content if you want that story. With this is, here's my opinion. It might be wrong. That's why it's an opinion. I know that a lot of people that love Dresden Files love the audiobooks. My opinion of why they hate this series, no hate, but they don't like it that much, is because James Marshall doesn't do the audiobooks. That's my opinion. Personally, for me, I don't audio. The audio's up here, baby. I don't need any of that, so I don't care. But I'm interested to see what Butcher can do with a little bit of, I believe it's just straight fantasy this time, because I've talked with Jim. I think he has amazing ideas outside of just Dresden Files. So I'm excited to dip into something that is not Harry Dresden related, even though I do need the next Dresden book, please. Oh my God, it's the first time I've had to wait. And I know you're like, oh, poor baby. Yes, poor baby. It's all new to me. One I don't have on physical yet. I only have the digital copy. Big fan of The Last Kingdom, as you might know. And so I've said, I want to read some Bernard Cornwell. I would love to read this, but I was like, do I really want to get into another multiple book series? And I was like, the Saxon stories, which Last Kingdom is based off of, is 13 books. So I was like, do I really want to start there? And after I talked to John Gwynn and several others have said, I think a great place for you to start with Cornwell is his Warlord Chronicles, which is based off of the Arthurian legend. And I'm like, well, I do love me something more to Arthur. I mean, I love the Arthurian legend. And so I think that'd be a great place to introduce Bernard Cornwell to me. So that's the one that's going to be happening next year. I'm excited. I really wanted to fit this in December, but I decided to do Godblind instead. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to do that. to finally read this author that so many of my favorite authors cite as a influence to them. So I'm excited to see how things go with that. I've heard nothing but glowing things. There's several people on the Discord that say Bernard Cornwell is their favorite. This is your favorite author now. Author. Yeah, so, so I'm excited to do it, very much so. And then, after the dust clears a little bit, in the future, we can do like I plan to do with Legends of the First Empire and just throw in one of those Saxon Stories books every once in a while, because I do want to read about some Uhtred, son of Uhtred. And last up, guys, not last up. There is one that is actually going to be not an asterisk, because I'm going to read it. The thing is, he doesn't have a release date for the last book here. So I just want to make sure that when I start it, I want to do one per month up to the end of the trilogy. This, of course, is Brian Lee Durfee's The Five Warrior Angels series. I've been promising this gentleman since he sent me this awesome signed cover that I was going to read his series, and I'm going to do it this year. I just figured I'd wait this long. I might as well wait until his third book comes out. And I know it is coming out soon, but it kind of is like, I think first he told me March, then he said it's May. I think he's up to June now. So we'll see how that happens. There's lots of things going on between then and now. I would love if it actually kind of comes after Malazan. That would be great. So I can just do one of those per month leading up to it. But I am going to be dipping into this very, very soon. If you guys don't know, Brian is a awesome booktuber, and from everybody that has told me on the Discord that has read this, he is an awesome author as well, and I don't doubt that is the case. I'm excited to finally pay it forward and read some of his books here. And last up, guys, you don't know, I just read Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. Now, Jay Kristoff is an author I kind of shrugged off as a YA author. Again, I think that might have been poorly, just kind of misrepresented, because I think that sometimes you look at some covers of books. I mean, you look at the Red Rising covers, and I thought, yeah, that must be YA, right? So I think that, again, I might be falling into that trap. Like Joe Abercrombie said, if you have a lead female protagonist that is a teenager, people automatically assume it is YA fantasy. And I don't know if that's the case with this one. But after Empire of the Vampire, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I am going to read the Nevernight Chronicle. Awesome person. I think Diana sent me these a while back, Diana in the Nook. And I want to get into them, but I had heard so many mixed things on them. But after I read Empire of the Vampire, I was like, okay, this guy has a really cool writing style. And it's definitely not YA. So I don't know if this is the same formula. Now, I know he writes that Aurora Rising series, which is aimed at YA audiences. But with this, I don't believe it is. I've heard people say, I think the exact way I was sold is he has sex scenes in it that would make a porn star blush. So I'm like, oh, wow, okay. That can be good or bad, See The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. That can be bad or good. But with this, like I said, I feel like he earned my trust enough after Empire of the Vampire for me to at least try the first book, Nevernight, and see what I think about it. Because I like I said, mixed things on this. I mean, I have some people say it's their favorite series ever, and some people closer to my age are like, it's awful. So I really don't know. I wonder where I'm going to lean on that one. But again, the guy has earned a chance with me after Empire of the Vampire, and I got to think of something to do to hold over that weight for the sequel to Empire of the Vampire, because I need it kind of now. But guys, those are the ones that are in permanent ink: Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, Shattered Sea, Codex Alera, The Warlord Chronicles, Five Warrior Angels, and The Nevernight Chronicle. So as soon as Malazan ends, guys, it is open season. As we know more of these, tying myself down to these long, crazy read-alongs. It was a fun experiment. I don't regret one bit that I've done it, but I am looking forward to a little bit of freedom again, a freedom to pick up a new series anytime I want and not feel like I've either just abused my brain or I'm just giving something else the shaft. I don't want to do that. I love that. It's like I'm like that meme. I'm like that meme sometimes where it's like, hey, this is the book I'm reading, and I'm the guy that's like looking at the girl walking by at the next book that I want to read. So I want to get back to being able to do that. I want to get back to like I was when the summer when I started reading Demon Cycle and Lightbringer and Red Rising all at the same time, because I felt like it, and Witcher. And then there's those series I want to finish, like Witcher. So that could be a different conversation altogether. But guys, these are my books that are going to be, or my new series. This isn't a series I've already started. These are just new series that I'm going to be checking out in 2022. Have you read any of them? Are you interested in joining me on them? Drop in the comments and let me know, and I will talk to you there.